All right, joining me now is Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville. Senator Tuberville, thank you, sir. It's good to see you. Can I just ask you, so, Chuck Schumer stopped this whole Mayorkas impeachment, broke a lot of constitutional history from what I gather. Question is, will Democrats pay a price? You've got swing state senators who voted with Schumer away from, they didn't want to touch the impeachment hearing and the catastrophe at the border. How do you make that? What do you think about that? Is that going to be an election issue?
Well, first of all, Larry, that was politics 101 for Chuck Schumer. He got all of his ducks lined up in a row. They all, 51 of them, voted not to have a trial for Mayorkas. I would think that probably Mitch McConnell needs to go by some of those rules. He put Trump on trial twice as majority leader of the Senate, but he goes by the rules of the Senate. Yes, I think they'll pay the price for this because people across the country understand what's going on at the border. It's been publicized too much. The first couple of years in the Biden administration, mainstream media says, nah, the border's closed, don't worry about that. But now they are hammering the border. Everybody's seeing what's going on. It's a catastrophe. But yesterday was a debacle in the Senate. That's my worst 4 hours since I've been up here. It's a shame that we have people that care more about other countries than we do about ours, Larry, but they will pay the price for this.
I thought that there was going to be a GOP effort to just shut down Senate business, period, if Schumer did what he did. But I don't see that effort.
Well, we don't have enough people to do it. We've still got people up here in the Republican side. They're going to do what they think is right, and we don't fall in line like the Democrats. We're individual thinkers. We're supposed to think for our own states. You got John Tester that votes against this impeachment trial, and he's from a red state. He will pay the price for that, and he knows that. And there's other people who will do the same thing, and they should, because you represent the people of your state, not yourself. There's too many individual thinkers up here. We've got some on our side. They don't have many on their side because they know they will not get reelected or reelection money, Larry, if they do not follow Chuck Schumer's orders.
Let me switch gears. Another subject, the Iran attack on Israel. And, of course, Biden is telling everybody he's not going to help Israel if they retaliate, which is insane. But I want to ask something else. National Security Advisor comes out, and they say, we're going to and Janet Yellen comes out and says the same thing. Jake Sullivan says this. We're putting sanctions down on Iran. And they have some paper sanctions on, I don't know, steel's the latest one I saw. Iran, not known for its steel making. Not once since they loosened the sanctions, Senator, not once have they gone after Iranian oil exports, which have gone from 900,000, their production has gone from 900,000 barrels a day to 3.5 million barrels a day. And as you probably know, it's all China, virtually all of it's China. China is importing 1.5 million barrels a day from Iran. China is financing Iran's war of terrorism against Israel. Okay, Russia too, but I'm focused on the Bidens would rather keep the price of gasoline down than they would help protect Israel's independence. What do you make of that?
Well, you're exactly right. We got two wars going on right now, Larry. One with Russia, obviously with Ukraine. There's oil involved in that, but China's bailing them out because China is buying their oil. We couldn't put the sanctions. We've got, 40,000 sanctions on Russia, and not one of them have worked. On the other hand, Iran, we made them rich because we have not been able to block the sale of Iranian oil, and we're even buying Iranian oil. So at the end of the day, Joe Biden speaks out of both sides of his mouth. He better back Israel. He won't last too much longer in this office if he doesn't back Israel, because the people that are really giving him a lot of money want him to back Israel. So they're our ally. But, Joe Biden speaks out of both sides of his mouth, and they're riding the fence on this. It's going to get them in trouble. But it all goes back to all of this. Do what's right. He's not doing what's right in either war that I think of.
Just the last one, Senator. I don't know this with certainty, but I think if Donald Trump were president and Iran kept selling oil and China kept buying oil from Iran and breaking the sanctions, I think Trump would double or triple the tariffs on China. He would just stop their trade cold. You know, tariffs can be used as an important diplomatic weapon. It's not all about trade. Like in Remain in Mexico, that's how Trump got that done. I mean, I would say in the White House, Trump would say to Xi Jinping, either you stop buying Iranian oil or you're going to stop selling anything to the United States. What do you think of that kind of toughness?
Exactly. You got to be tough. If you're going to be tough, you got to play tough, but you got to use your cards. We don't play our cards in any situation that we're in. We hadn't played our cards right with Iran. We haven't played our cards right with China and Russia. We hadn't played our cards right as Republicans when it comes to sending all this money overseas. We could have stopped the people at the border if we'd have played our cards right, but we folded our cards and we gave our cards and let the hand be played by the Democrats. So there's a lot of things President Trump would have done and would have all been settled by now. We would have never been in this war, probably neither one of these wars, had he been president. But show of leadership, the lack of leadership in the White House we have right now, Larry, it's nowhere to be found.
Yes, sir. Senator Tuberville, great to see you. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.